Are we? Welcome back to the stream, everybody.
Hey, everyone.
Oh, hello.
So I think we're going to go back over
real close.
some of the... here we go. So we're going to go back over some of Kentucky Route Zero because there's a whole bunch of other choices, options, stuff that we missed, and things which give context to the game, things we want to talk about, game design decisions. And so we're probably going to be doing that for another half hour or so. Did you guys all enjoy us doing this dramatic reading? I thought it was a kick, but I'd love to know from you guys. And I'm sorry about the levels. This is the first time we've done this, and so
Also on a completely new machine,
Yeah.
with completely new settings. So I hope we at least got it fixed up towards the beginning.
We found the light switches and turned them on.
We did find the light switches. That was definite upside. So I think we just want to go through the game, starting from the beginning.
Let's go through, and you can just blaze through talking to him.
All right, what's up, bro? Turned in. So this was like the first time you ever get to talk to somebody, right, in the game?
Well, the thing that I really find interesting is the way the characters begin talking to you or talking to each other and the responses they have, right? He begins by saying something which is a total non sequitur, right? He doesn't say hello, he doesn't in any way greet you or welcome a stranger to the shop or ask you what you want or what you're doing there. Instead, he starts talking about an accident, right? An accident on the road.
Sets up the broken world that everybody kind of lives in.
Yeah.
Everything is broken and not quite working. It's got a lot of memories invested in it.
And everything is very disjointed.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of these choices are like...
And it fits with the sun setting, too.
Yeah.
Do you think there's anything in some of these names? Dogwood Drive, Equisoils.
So, given the powerful, the amount of horse imagery there is in this, and the horses behind the barn later, I think Equisoils definitely. I am not
Horses as symbols of a journey.
I haven't figured it out yet. It's something that.
So what is that in American culture? It's like freedom, independence.
Yes.
It's not so much nobility in our culture.
And it's sort of open travel, right?
Yeah.
It's this. It is the quintessential cowboy journey, right? It's the Cormac McCarthy novel. But
blood everywhere. There was blood everywhere. We got to do a blood rating after this.
Yes.
Maggots were eating his eyes.
God. I'm out.
So, by the way, stop here.
Zero is the only word that does that.
It's really interesting. They actually do stuff with their font choice a great deal that I find fascinating, right? Every time we hit 0, we get that particular font weirdness. You'll see on the computer also they 1980s stylize the computer.
Mm-hmm.
So they do a lot. They do a lot with something that seems like such a basic element.
And that helps make it more interesting, right? And it helps give you. I feel like it helps give you a reading. Like if it was, for instance, somebody reading it out loud, they would know to call out that word in a special way.
Yeah. Well, and even as a player, you understand that it has significance.
In the way that, in Zelda, they highlight keywords in blue or red.
Yes, just like in Zelda. Yeah. I actually thought he was going to say it's dangerous to go it alone.
Yeah.
Take this lamp.
The lamp was... I got that sense, too. Just here, take this lamp. It's very, old school.
It's too bad you don't hold the dice up over your head.
Yeah, do-do-do-do.
Like Sword and Sorcery style. I like that they're called basement people, which is the proper name for gamers, actually.
So there was some stuff we missed here
when
we were going through. So I've never played this game. These guys have, and I was driving. Does it matter which of them we choose?
Not choose one. I think we didn't choose that one last time, did we? Oh, yeah, we did choose that one.
Mm-hmm.
So with these guys, right, they're playing this game, but if you hear them talk about it, or when we looked at it, it's a very strange game, right?
Yeah.
They've just got a map open with dice and some pieces on it.
You get to move your marker anywhere on the map.
But these words, we suddenly have characters that are outside of the game a little bit. They're talking about the experience of you, the player, entering the game. They say it gets easier as you go. All you have to do is click, and you move to somewhere on the map.
And so talk to them 2 more times, I think.
And this is also a callback to other character types from theater, right?
Yes, they're almost a chorus.
Mm-hmm. They're playing diagrams and dice rolls.
That's my favorite game, by the way. As a designer, I highly recommend. That'll be next week's streams recommends. All right, so let's take a look at, say, either one of these, but
The instant crisis rolls.
so let's go through this. I think you were right about the instant crisis rolls. There's a whole separate table of them in the back.
I don't like that rule anyway. It's not fun. It's just random and frustrating.
The randomness is what makes it realistic, Bob.
And now talk to them one more time. Because these are the ones that we missed when we were doing our playthrough.
I think they're asking for clarification.
Yes, when we talked about chorus, I'm talking about Greek chorus.
Yeah,
Is that-
Mike Sean. It's specifically the chorus from Greek plays.
Seem pretty focused.
Pretty focused on that game.
I still don't understand how you win.
And this is the important part. Roll the twice-sided die for each player and refer to Appendix C, Table of Psychological Anxiety, Psychogeographical Anxiety, Address Correlations. Locate the resulting street address on the road map and move the player marker to the appropriate location.
It doesn't help.
Well, I don't think you can win. It says on the box it's a tragedy.
So, right, they're contextualizing the whole game for us in that moment. They're clearly talking about the game you were playing. They clearly exist sort of outside of this experience as meta-commentary in the way that a Greek chorus does.
And that's something that Shakespeare did, like in Romeo and Juliet, where just at the beginning, somebody comes on stage and basically recites the whole plot of the play for you.
Well, I think we have different standards in different cultures about how much we're used to characters talking about the art we're looking at.
Sure, there's a meta thing going on, but it is a technique that I find that does get used.
But we rarely see it used as effectively in games.
Yeah.
I think games have an implied immersion.
Well, and the question is, this is clearly set up with a play-like narrative structure, right? He clearly even calls out the acts.
Yeah.
By the way, I really did enjoy that moment. The first time I turned off the lights and figured out what to do and saw the change in environment.
Yeah.
This will be a call forward to later, right? There's a point later where this same gameplay technique comes up.
And so this is also highlighting how those characters exist outside of the game.
And it's also telling you about this world, right?
Kind of building up the mystery.
Yeah, exactly. It's giving you this moment where it kicks your brain.
Well, and here we've got a dramatic visual moment.
Right. And I do really like how they do some of these dramatic visuals, right? Especially when you go back up.
Well, you can see this is a horse body.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, the whole thing is
Dan
built.
can't see.
I can, it's quick.
Yeah, and that fit, like, you have hidden things buried underground. The underneath is a lot deeper than the surface.
And you cannot go there, right? Like, there are places further down that you cannot yet go.
He makes a reference to this, doesn't he, Joseph? Like that very thing.
So, I'm trying to avoid spoiling anything for the future. If players haven't anything past, we got to what, Act 3?
Yeah. First 2 acts.
So, why do you guys feel like he does this with the password? I mean, I actually think it's somewhat important, but what are your thoughts?
Okay, so you have to be honest with the computer in order to get something out of it. You have to express more of yourself. I mean,
So keep going.
I'm trying to think about what
serious.
and why it's specifically a computer, because you do similar actions. You use the dog in a very similar way as you do the computer, and you do it with non-responsive humans, because a lot of people don't actually talk to you; they talk around you.
Right. So here, this password section, right? Anything you're going to put in is correct.
Right. That's what I was wondering. It's just like it's asking you to make a decision
and a lot of this is callbacks to lines that Joseph could have said. It may all be. I'm actually not entirely sure.
Like lines you could have said when talking.
Right. Like you just breathed road. So to me, he's doing this to force the player into a more like emotively correct state, right? But by making you do poetry in his game, right? By making you create poetry, he's forcing you as a player to be more open and receptive to creating this sort of narrative for yourself, right? Which I thought was a really interesting technique.
I like it.
Because that could have easily been a throwaway moment, and it wasn't. There's
and you
also
also-
lots of meta-commentary from
Yeah,
this.
games is not real.
And you remember the first time you went to the computer, right? What happens if you put in Conway?
Conway does not exist.
Yeah, Conway is not real.
Yeah.
Which all of it is double on top, right?
There's another thing that you can do with choices that don't matter, where those choices illustrate parts of Conway's character. Like, there are things that he could say.
Right.
And so all three of those are equally valid in that each one lets you learn more about who Conway is. A tree that's always on fire.
I thought it was a burning bush thing, but I'm not sure.
Yeah, I can't see the connection to mine.
I'm not getting a reference out of that. I mean, it obviously feels symbolic.
Yeah. So it's very hard to make something that is on fire all the time not symbolic. Anything left to do here? Should we talk to the dog?
I find the dog's name options also interesting.
I don't know. I mean, it's very hard to avoid naming him Homer, though.
Right.
So it is a good name. For a dog.
Well, and especially a dog in an old straw hat.
Yeah. So like this. So this is, and a lot of times this would just be exposition. I'm going to
Right.
talk about the guy I got this dog from, but it's weird because you are choosing to say things that you didn't know previously, but
Right.
Conway knew.
But in the same way, you're also crafting Conway and the story.
Ghost, the burning bush is an allegory from the Bible. I think it's
God comes down, lights a bush on fire, talks to people,
talks to Moses.
guides you on your way, that sort of thing.
It's one of Moses' prophetic visions.
Yep.
Missed the burning.
Okay, so the map. The map.
The map is a really interesting
It looks
feature
like a
of this.
map.
Yeah.
And it's also exploratory, right? This could have
Yeah.
easily just been a number of notes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's not. It's
Doesn't go
actually intended to be exploratory where you can... and we're getting all these great road names on the way.
Yeah.
Gritterville,
Grider.
Griderville, Dragonflies.
And
And it makes the world feel a lot bigger than the succession of rooms would.
yes. And I like
Because-
the...
Yeah, there's ambiguous amounts of space.
And the encounter points, right? It feels like there's more to this world than simply the couple of rooms that you go to, right?
Yeah. Well, and the potential to miss something. It's good that there aren't stats about things that you have missed, because that would fall on the bad side of obsessive compulsive type stuff. But
Right.
knowing that stuff can be out there gives you that space.
And all the stuff that's out there, at least from what I've encountered, I haven't encountered all of it, you probably seen more of it than I have, is
I'm very slow.
stuff that gives feel to the world.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah,
You understand that this is our world but not our world
yeah.
by having these moments. And he also manages to capture that Mythic South feel with a lot of these encounters. That sort of mythologized, somewhat spooky, somewhat old South that we reference a great deal in Americana, right?
Well, I mean, how different? I mean, Kentucky, Tennessee, West Virginia are a little bit different than like Deep South.
Right. This is, I guess, or whatever you wish to call it, American heartland, right?
Yeah.
Not, I don't think that this experience would work if this was California. Well,
I guess this is more like Appalachia
yeah,
type. Yeah.
this can't be Oregon Route Zero, right? Like, I don't think the same effect would work just because of all the mythos we've created around
Yeah.
this area, right? It's really interesting. People are talking about the art on the stream, and you're absolutely right. They do incredible amount with this minimalist art, and the use of foreground, background, how they open up buildings, how they silhouette a lot of things.
Yeah, it's very good at like drawing your attention to the important things while still feel like maintaining a consistent stuff.
And it's a very theatrical presentation too.
Yeah.
People are actually asking about that on stream. Why do they call it Act 1, right? Why does he go so far to use conventions of the play?
Yeah, I think he's trying very hard to set up this story in a way.
But what benefits do we get from it being like a play as opposed to like a movie?
Does it puts us in a different frame of mind as we're reading it.
It also does a very weird thing in terms of game, because it tells me I'm not the character and yet I am, right? Like, I am watching this. This is a play unfolding. This is a narrative drama. This is not me being this character. And yet at the same time, I'm making so many choices about the character's narrative development.
Yeah, I mean, like, they're referencing games a lot, and, like, player as a director, more so than player as a writer, is something I feel like you're sort of choosing lines along this meta, like, along this road that you have. Like, you can't really affect the story, but you can sort of tweak where it goes.
But you are definitely Conway, or you're playing very directly around Conway's headspace.
Well, what's really interesting to me is I feel like he's saying you are an actor playing Conway.
Right, because you have some choice in how you read your lines.
Right.
Or a couple of choices.
It's not that you are Conway living out the story, but rather
you're
an
interpreting
actor.
Conway.
Right.
Yeah.
Which I think is a very interesting contextualization for the player, rather than our normal "you are Master Chief."
Yeah.
Right.
So they're specific. We missed some stuff here too, right?
Yes. Yeah. There's a couple of things you missed here.
Great.
So why does he say this line? Because I feel like this line is, again, context. There used to be another house here, but we had it destroyed. We built this one. It was very expensive, and we got underwater.
It was very expensive refers to the new house.
Yes. Potentially the destruction too. I mean,
there's the direct fiction building, right, where we're building the world of things that used to be nicer than they were, things that have fallen apart. Right?
I'm not entirely sure we're just talking about a house here, though. I'm not sure that line. I'm not sure house is actually house in that line. It'll be interesting to see.
Yeah.
And here's again one of these segues, right? They do this a lot, where she moves straight from talking randomly about the house to asking him what he does for work, right? And so it's a very, very interesting
she asks 3 different questions, and you can answer one of the 3 questions.
Right.
Deliveries for a small antique shop. Times I work, doing a little farm. My parents stopped paying the bank a while back. I shouldn't really be here, but I just stayed.
Which all of these lines, right? She tells you later, "Have you been paying attention?" And all of these lines are referential to the fact that she's not really here, right? That we're experiencing something misplaced in time at this point, or misplaced in reality, however you want to call it.
So Ghost asked, do we think that Weaver represents the 3 fates from Greek mythology?
So, it is a very good question. I think we're going to have to get further in the narrative. I don't want to spoil anything. It's an excellent thought.
This is the one we did. Never learn anything new anymore. I had some figures, but nothing radical. If that was a math joke, I would be super upset.
It was a math joke.
God damn it. But he sent it on TV along with you, didn't he? Of course he did. That was clever of him. He said, I guess when you had to get to bring on the 0 I know.
And so, here's our first big reveal, right? We had a minor reveal with the basement players and their disappearance. But this is unexpected, right? This is a moment, for me as a player at least, where we are now experiencing something other. That is a moment of the uncanny, which again kicks my brain. And even just that use of the parting of the back wall.
Yeah.
Again, though, very theatrical, right? Very much like a stage, rather than... Right.
It's the first time we got this close to the characters.
And now again, she's not actually talking about the TV per se here, right? Like, all of the stuff is literal and more than literal.
Is there a specific we should try?
Up to you. I really do like the
Here's Ghosts and
right.
Aesthetics.
And here she says again, have you been paying attention? I don't think you have.
Mm-hmm. But it is weird that they force the player to talk about the TV in response to a question.
Mm-hmm.
Because, I mean, that prompts a conversation where she's begging you, she begs a question like, think about it again. I'm not talking about the question that I just asked you, right? But you can't answer a different way. But if you could, you wouldn't be part of the style.
Right.
Right.
And here,
it's time to start paying attention.
They're cluing you in that if you've just been playing and just sort of reading it like you would maybe just a normal game, you have missed things at this point.
Well, and look closely at the television. I mean, presumably you are already looking at a monitor.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then we get to zoom in, right? Which should be zooming in on the television, but it's not. And yet... And so here, right, why do we get this moment? Why do we get the broken down barn with the strange symbol on it? And the horses. We're back to horses.
It sort of fits in with the fact that, like this barn is ostensibly part of this house, and it's falling apart.
I don't think as far as the symbol goes, we know yet, and yet all of us know that is out of place, right? As a designer, he puts this thing which does not fit with this old broken down barn very clearly on there to once again give us that kick and tell us there's more going on.
Mm-hmm. And it's like, it's almost the scene we expect. We expect the broken barn, we expect some horses.
Right.
In beat up Kentucky.
Right. I mean, I've seen barns like that all over.
Yeah, and then it says, hey, wake up. Look at it more closely. So we need to get to moving the player to a new objective at some point.
Right.
So they also need to switch between talking strictly metaphorically and talking about actual game logic. Talking about these nouns, like saying, this is a character's name.
Yeah, this is sort of like incredibly like overt.
No, I mean, I'm just trying to break down the language that keys us in to know that we need to pay attention to something on a game level versus on a narrative level.
Yeah, and like it's definitely couched in it. Like you can tell when it switches.
They repeat stuff though. She'll repeat things that are on a game level.
Yeah.
They'll actually say them a couple of times, like how it told you how to get to Marquez's house, and then on the way out, he tells you how to get to Marquez's house as well.
Yeah.
She's going to do the same thing. I do actually find this line to be enjoyable because this is, again, another hint at what is going on here, right?
Yeah.
We used to be the same age. She's older now. And see, here she goes and says where it is.
Yep. She fixes TVs in the back. Not convinced you should bother with the 0.
And then here we go.
From there, your arrival at the 0 is basically inevitable.
And then here we go again with especially in the dark, right? Which will come up again later. But that warning, that kicking the player to keep your eyes open, especially in the dark, is telling us, again, there's more here. Look carefully.
Pay attention even if you don't understand it.
Right.
Yeah.
Because eventually, hopefully, you will.
Yeah.
In the future, this will make sense. So pay attention. Think more deeply about this.
Wondering about the line, the TV is picking up the wrong signal.
I'm wondering about that too.
Yeah, I don't think the TV is at all relevant, like as a TV.
And then here, this just obviously clues us in. This is throwing a second one in to say, hey, if you didn't get it, she's gone.
Has been for a while.
Right. This is not necessarily how you saw this place when you first walked in. What do you feel about her grave being outside? There is a Marquez grave outside, which could be anybody or could be her, right?
Well, so it doesn't look like...
She talks about... What does she talk about graves? She talks about her parents' grave?
Well,
yeah. When you first talk to her, she says, lying in a cold,
What's
I
interesting...
can't remember exactly what she says about the grave when you first talk to her.
Is how different the names are here, right?
No,
in a family grave, like, you expect there to be...
These are from, like, three different geographical locations.
Right. And then head down towards the truck.
Which is exactly like...
It might be a statement of intent about the kind of world that he wants. He's going to talk about not just old white Kentucky. He's going to talk about all the different people that make it and bring them into this world that we think of when we think of Kentucky.
Right. And, I mean, clearly we have this dualism going on where we've got that mythos of old Kentucky. At the same time, she's a scientist, right? Yeah. And this is a sci-fi story in a lot of ways. I also find the use of this both excellent and fascinating.
You did just transition from, I'm talking about, this is like a modern Kentucky because we're bringing races in here. Yes, and she's a scientist. It's very science fiction-y.
Right.
For Kentucky.
Well, I mean, for our mythos of old Kentucky.
Okay,
right?
Okay. Yeah.
We have a mythos of the South, which is not about the modern South, but is about the either antebellum South or post-war South.
Yes.
That is sort of what this is drawing, right? That feel.
And like you can break through that with sharp observations, right?
Right.
About the way characters talk about the texture of the buildings,
but it's
with specific music and stuff like that. It's
also a place that allows for ghost stories and the supernatural and the meta-natural, right?
Yeah.
But then we shoot right back, right? Because we hit an old hymnal, right? One of the famous American sort of, I guess we'd call it gospel music songs. And I think it's great, because my understanding is we were talking about it the other day, this is recorded specifically for this. This is not a piece that they just found sitting out there. This is something the designers went out and got a band to put together for them.
Yeah, I don't think it's a band from Oh Brother We're Out, though. I think there are lots of people who play music like this around, and they're probably cheaper. Although, Oh Brother We're Out, though, is quite good.
So, after this, I mean, we can go back. We missed a little bit even in there, talking about his job. Because when she says, I used to be a mathematician, if you respond with the job line, you find out more about it. But we've hit about our half an hour. Do we want to move on? Or some more? Do we want to talk about the bait shop?
Yeah.
Also, can we go back to the
Yeah,
musician?
There was an interesting part.
Yeah, we missed the part about the musician. I think our camera is...
terrible.
Yeah.
If you like your nose.
I think we eventually have to fix this too. We have to figure out how to get all three of us on camera. All right, so this guitar player. Talk to him instead. Don't put $1 in his cup. Just listen. The young man whistles hoarsely, stops playing guitar, and looks up at Conway. He rambles for a few minutes about the weather, the dog, and his music, then returns to playing. As he walks back to the truck, Conway finds that he can hardly remember a word the young man spoke.
That actually runs out very similarly. I remember putting the $1 in. So if you put the $1 in, it's revealed that that was his whiskey cup, and
right.
He takes it out. It's a I don't want pity
right.
type of thing. If you listen to him, Conway actually doesn't listen.
Right. Well, and it's interesting whether or not you interpret it as doesn't listen, or given the context of the previous scene, you interpret it as, again, this is one of those quasi-real moments, right? Was this guy even here?
But, I mean, just as a statement about the world, about this area.
Yeah.
The way that people are like, there are people like this, sometimes they're treated like this.
No, I think it works on both levels,
Yeah.
right? Whether it's a statement about the area or whether it's a overall statement about the world of the game, right? And especially since this guy is just out there in the middle of nowhere humming tunelessly. I think the bait shop's down there. I love the amount of authenticity he puts into the flyer here with the graphic on the flyer.
It's a long description.
But it feels so like one of those flyers would be, right? I've seen that flyer.
Yeah.
I love the fact when he talks about the hot water bottle on the head of the cartoon TV, especially it being clip art, right? Which also gives us a context for the time, right?
Yeah.
This is relatively modern. We know that this is, even though we haven't seen anything else in that nature, we know that we are at least in the 90s. And yet, they're not, right?
I think it's modern. I mean, digital converter boxes.
Right.
That's a very specific dating. Actually.
No, I agree.
Yeah.
But what's really interesting is, while we are in the present, a lot of this other stuff, a lot of these places explicitly say that they are not, right?
And that's I mean, he's using the magical realism to exaggerate realistic qualities about the area in a way that it comes through at the desired potency from the fiction. Like, by it being exaggerated, we understand how it actually feels. You go back home and you're like, wow, things are...
Thank you, Eldaris. Alright, what are we doing here?
Well, first, right, we have these 3 tanks, and they're fairly, I mean, if you've been in a bait shop, right, we know the second one is worms. The third one is fish, right? Is some form of bait fish. What's the first one?
This noise is much louder than all the other sounds in the game, apparently. Both times we've come here, people have complained about the noise.
So, what's interesting here, go through any one of them.
Does this give us anything? No, it doesn't.
This is a very odd action to be doing in the bait shop, especially with the guy just sitting there watching you.
Yeah.
Why do you think he has a section there?
So, there's reaching deep down into something like this. If it was without the third one, I don't know if the first one makes sense on its own. But with the context of the third one, you have learning about history, specifically your history, which is a painful act.
Yes. I mean, I definitely think that the third one is you reaching into you. Right.
And it's specifically described as hard and difficult and painful.
Right.
And so is the first one also insight? And that insight is something Conway can't grasp.
Well, let's go back to the second one, because
this also feels like initiation rites for...
it's true.
The sort of thing you would do in a mystic setting.
Yeah.
This is telling us about his past.
Yep.
His past job.
And we know at this point that he got the dog from Ira.
Yeah.
Which probably makes Ira dead.
Yeah.
Dead or murdered.
Well, yes.
They're very different, actually.
Would you like to explain the differences?
One is murdered.
One's dead.
Yes.
Cashier points at the tank and above it. So.
All right.
So you got electrocuted by reaching into the random thing. You want to go to the second one?
Yeah. So, go to the tanks.
louder.
It's always louder.
Fleshy but inert sensations.
Keep going. Right. That, I mean, there too. Even though we know it's worms, and in that case, it has a very sort of atavistic, very, I guess, psychologically symbolic feeling to it, where we've got him reaching into the flesh, right?
Yeah, and it's like nauseating and repulsive. Like it's very hard to do. The natural reaction is to pull away from reaching into yourself.
And then I do enjoy the fact that the cashier doesn't speak to you, right?
He's a gatekeeper character.
Yeah.
Yeah. In
And
an
if you-
evil way.
If you ask him about the basketball game, right, he just turns up his radio.
Did the radio have the basketball game on it, or was it just transmitted out?
No,
It's-
he's listening to the basketball game.
And it says it's unclear whether this is intended to answer his question or just drown you out.
Right. Which is a statement, I think, about a lot of the answers to a lot of the questions.
Do we want to try going on, or do you want to just swap over to?
Well, I think this is where we finish the reading, so I think we'll do more next time.
Okay.
And for any of you guys, if you're on the stream, is this something you got a kick out of? Is this something we're happy to do more of? I mean, I enjoy this game. I enjoy analyzing this game. I've been getting a kick out of doing the reading with these guys because I've actually gotten a lot more out of the game by trying to understand it in character. But yeah, let us know if this is something that you want to see more of.
Yeah, we'll talk more about it on Monday in the next stream. All right, should we just?
Someone has a question for you.
Ooh, yeah, shoot. Firewolf 109. Question, yeah, shoot.
Over the lag of the internet.
Sweet. That was minutes ago, I'm sure, for you guys. If you guys like it, and grab... I would love to broaden this discussion, right? I would love to get more people to see Kentucky Route Zero, so I'm actually going to hit you guys up to grab your friends, turn the lights down, and join us. Because this is a game that I feel like... I'm certainly going to talk about it on James Recommends, but... again, not perfect, but there's a lot of really interesting things he's done that really went under-noticed, and I'd love to expose more people to this game.
All right, so should we just load up the next game? Just go right into it.
First, Firewolf had a quick question.
Yep, the mic is still on, so we'll be able to answer it while I get this thing set up.
Okay, cool. Firewolf, fire away.
Also, how do we start this game up?
Did you break everything? You broke everything.
Absolutely. Okay, so that'll just bring us there.
Right,
Just restart it if we're doing that.
What is the most difficult thing? Firewolf 109 says, "Hey James, what was the most difficult thing about when you were working on your first game, and what was the first game?" So I actually started my career in collectible card games. My first
I didn't know that.
real, I actually have some of the product here. But back when everybody in Seattle was making, like literally you could walk down any given block in Seattle and find people making collectible cards.
Just on the street.
That was when it was the Palace of Wizards.
No, when the Palace of Wizards was actually here, you went in and there were life-size Hurloon Minotaurs flanking the doors. But I would say that in digital games, the hardest thing is coming to the realization that design is, or coming to the acceptance that design is not the fantasy of design, right? Is not simply coming in and talking the big ideas, but is the real nitty-gritty of making it all work.
Is not